And I want them to know what you can do is you can show me right now why my Google contacts are not syncing with my phone. And then I'm happy to talk to you longer than 15 minutes. And they laugh. Um, I said, you add value. It doesn't have to be, you've got to introduce me to a CEO sort of a thing. But, people will see something that they say is, oh, gee, I want that. And to me, I wouldn't go to Warren Buffett or Bill Gates and say, can I have $1 million? I haven't earned $1 million from them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important for people to say, and also I say, this is what I do so I can eat. I do need to lose a few pounds, fair enough, but this is actually how I get the lights on. And in some cases, I think people just genuinely don't know how consultants earn a living. So it's really important for the consultant to explain how I earn a living is I solve X, Y, and Z. And the value of that is X, Y, and Z.
Well, I mean, you're being very clear about it, and I think that's good. So, what initially made you start your own business, Diane?
What made me start my own business was failure.
Hmm.
And also, an incredibly awful thing happened. I was starting a business, and it was 99, 2000, and I had been in the tourism business, and I had taken Americans all around the world for 4 years. It was an amazing PhD in people. And I was always chasing down someone's lost jacket, binoculars, passport, eyeglasses, and 99% of the time, the item did not have any cash value. Now, passports, it was a different time, obviously. I would be a little bit more paranoid about passports now. But, the eyeglasses had no cash value to the person who found them. And so there wasn't any reason for the person to want to keep it. They wanted to actually get it back to the person. So I was going to create Lost and Found online. And the idea would be that, I'm in San Diego, I'm at a conference, I've been up the street to a restaurant, I've been at the hotel, I was in a taxi or a Lyft or whatever else it would be. And I could go on to Lost and Found online and say, I left my eyeglasses. Could it be in any of these four places? And they would spoke it out. FedEx would get a piece of the pie. The maid would get a thank you note or a tip or something along those lines. And I was going great guns with this. Very new. I'd never been run a business before, never started a business before. Everybody and their cousin and a dog was starting a business in the 99 2000.com timeframe. And you didn't think failure. You didn't think that it wasn't going to work. And several things happened. And the worst part of it that happened was my former boss was most likely to be a seed investor to do a feasibility and, a research study on it. And so I cashed in my retirement thinking that was going to happen. And he was killed on September 11th.
Oh, wow.
And also the airlines really didn't care about Lost and Found. There was a very different paranoia about who people were and what they were carrying, and did the eyeglass or journal have an embedded bomb in it or whatever it might be. And so just it all went away. It just went away, and my savings were gone. And I'd quit my job, so I didn't have a job anymore. And so somebody at one point came up to me at a meeting and they said, you know what, would you ever be willing to do a workshop about networking? I was fascinated you were starting that business. You'd never run a business before, but boy, you sure got amazing meetings with people. And I'm thinking, I don't network. I just said, if you said your brother worked at a Sheraton, and I would say, God, can I work with your brother and ask him some questions about Lost and Found? And if your brother doesn't call me back, after three times, I would go to you and say, "Hey, Gail, oh, brother broke his leg skiing. Bad timing, or it's a perfect time because he can't work. Call him." you know. And so do you write Gail a thank you note? I'm like, yeah, I write Gail a thank you note. And it's like, can you tell us what you do? And I was like, to give me 10 questions, and that 10 questions turned into a talk. And somebody there said, can I bring you into my corporation? People don't realize how they network internally. And the internal networking was the real thing. Because what happens is so many people focus on networking to get a job, to get the date, to get the boyfriend. Well, ask anybody who's not married anymore. I mean, or, at some point you stop connecting, or you were a mismatch to begin with. And so if it's a job mismatch, fair enough. And if it's a, professional mismatch, but at the end of the day, you got to keep the conversation going. So I just talked about how to do that within companies, and people said, "Great, what's your fee?" And I said, "Let me get back to you. I don't actually know."
Well, that's interesting because it's true. A lot of people think they do something, and then somebody says, "How much do you charge?" And they say, "Oh, people pay for that." So you're right on target there. Well, let's go back to your book. Now, it's been published in 7 languages. So where would people go to buy this book?
The best place for them to go is Amazon. And there's 2 books. The Networking Survival Guide has been published twice. The first time it came out was pre Facebook and LinkedIn, which is kind of frightening because that's only about 12 years ago. It since has been republished to include social media. And then there's another version which I've nicknamed Networking for People with ADD. That book is called The Networking for Career Success, and that's a skinny, skinny book. And if people do want to go onto DianeDarling.com and put their name into the newsletter list, I am actually doing an audio version of that at the moment. It's not quite ready yet, but I'm going to be doing an audio version if people want to listen to it. But those are the 2 books that I have. And they're in 7 languages, which is so bizarre when you write a book but you can't read it.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. I was going through some old, I'm trying to clear out my storage unit, and I'm going through boxes, and I found newspapers of the foreign countries I was in, and they've done articles on me, and I can't read them. I know they're about me because I saw my picture, but I have no idea what they say. So let's say now, first of all, if people want to get in touch with you, Diane, they can go to your website, which is Diane Diane Darling Darling.com, correct?
Exactly.
Okay. And do you want them to contact you in any other way?
That's probably the best. And just fill in the form or send me an email. If people do invite me with LinkedIn, just please say something about this call. I am very embarrassed, but I have 1,472 invitations that I have not answered. And that's because people just say, be in my network, be in my network, be in my network. And there's no connection. And one of the sadder things about LinkedIn right now is there's a fair amount of fake profiles. And so I do not automatically accept everybody.
That's true. I was talking about that with someone else today, that there's a lot of scams on Facebook. There's a lot of scams on, I didn't realize there were scams on LinkedIn as well, but certainly Facebook. I was talking about the people who have tried to contact me who, since I'm widowed, they're all widowed. And they want to connect with me, and they're from out of the country, and I just don't even accept them because I don't
No.
want them in my network. So the best ways to get in touch with Diane is at her website, which is DianeDarling.com. And she is an expert in networking, so you should feel free to, to go there. And I think it would be delightful to have a copy of your book, since it's probably the definitive work on it, and it must be if it's in 7 languages. Now, interestingly, though, it would be. I wonder if things had to change because of the various customs in various countries. Certain things that you do for networking in one country does not fly in another country. So, did you have to do any changes for anything?
Well, McGraw Hill did the translations, and they based it on, requirements of, who they, obviously it's a business decision. How many do they think are going to sell?
Right.
It's interesting that it's in Chinese, Thai, Indonesian, Korean, Japanese, and the only non-Asian language is Portuguese, the Brazilian Portuguese. So they obviously know their markets and who's going to buy. I've had people read almost every translation, I think, and they've all said to me that it's what everybody knows they should do. It's just the way it's packaged, and it reminds people to come up with a system, to touch base with people. Don't wait until you need something. And just a lot of it is just the kindness and the thoughtfulness, and what can I do for you, and let them know what you do. I mean, on occasions when I have a competitor who does something, I'm thinking, well, shame on me that I didn't let the person know I can do that.
Right, I agree with you. Well, it's been a delight, Diane. We're at the end of the show, but you have just been a wealth of information for us today. I want to thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you again at some point in our future.
I do too. Anytime it's a blizzard, invite me out to California. I'll be there.
Okay, thanks so much.
You're so welcome.